Well, welcome along. This is ShrimpNet, the Shrimps Trust podcast, on another quiet week at the Mazuma. What can I say? There's never a dull moment at this football club. There is never a dull moment. This week, we were to have two guests, but obviously things have been happening. We record this on a Thursday evening, and as probably most of you will be aware by the time this goes out live, we've endured the EFL impinging us with the 3-point deduction and a hefty fine for our owner. So we're in a situation where the board member who was coming on felt he can't come on for obvious reasons. And so unfortunately, he's given us backward, but he sends his best wishes to both JJ and to Joel. And as you can see, if you watch it on YouTube, we are joined by our recently returning number 10 in JJ McKiernan. JJ, thank you so much for doing this. It's really appreciated. And it was lovely to see you getting on, albeit we lost both games, but it was lovely to see you getting on. And we'll chat about that in a bit. But we'll start with a review of, obviously, the game's just gone. Joel, I want to start with Doncaster. There was, I think we looked at it and there weren't that many players that played in the game back when we won 5-0 back in the heady days of the early days of when was it? November? It was November, wasn't it? Yeah. And so yeah, there weren't that many players still surviving from that in both teams. So obviously there's been many changes. I thought Donny looked a really good outfit. I thought they looked very, very committed. They knew what they were doing, and we didn't really cope with the wind very well, did we? And gave it two goals away, and we were chasing the game after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I wasn't at the game, but I've watched it back, and it's all I always think it's really interesting watching games back when you kind of know what's happened and you don't feel quite as emotional about it in the moment and everything. I thought first half, look, it wasn't a great performance, but I thought first half we weren't maybe as bad as I thought got made out. I thought we put some decent moves together, got in some decent positions, didn't quite fashion out that chance, but you know, it wasn't bad. And at the end of the day, Donny are a good side in excellent form. I thought they were really solid. They've got people like Richard Wood at the back who super experienced, super good defender, super organised. I remember him locking down Cole Stockton when he was at Rotherham a couple of seasons ago. Absolutely completely locked him down. When Cole was in absolutely unbelievable form on at the start of our first season in League One. So yeah, they're a good side, Doncaster, and they've done well to play the wind and hit us on the break, and then put a little bit of pressure on afterwards and get that second goal. And yeah, I think overall they deserve the win. I think one thing that did stand out, I thought there was a pretty clear penalty on Jed Garner that didn't get given a couple of minutes before they've got the free kick for their second. Richard Wood's literally hanging onto his waist and kind of goes to his knees and drags him down. I don't really.
I agree completely. I do think, and you made the point, and I read what you put on Twitter, and one of their fans was having a right ding dong with him, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to let it go.
It was quite amusing, really, because he was trying to justify it, saying it wasn't a penalty, and you were like, look, I'm not bothered about the score. We might have lost 3-1, but that was a penalty. And I agree with you. But I made the point on Twitter, and it's the only thing I posted on the entire thing was, I've been watching football and knowing the referees long enough. Darren Drysdale thinks we are there to watch him. He's always thought it. It's never, ever changed. I remember a game quite a few years ago. I was still working at the time. I went to do the commentary on a Tuesday night at Exeter. You'd imagine me getting back at 3 o'clock in the morning. 1-1, 10 minutes left. They bring Ruben Reid on, who everybody knows Ruben Reid. He'll push it past the defender and run into him and claim a penalty. And I said this when they brought him on, and Darren Drysdale was reffing. Guess what happened next? Ruben Reid pushed it past whoever the centre half was at the time, ran into him, fell over. Darren Drysdale does his dramatic point at the spot. We lost 3-1. I got home at 3 o'clock in the morning. As I was coming out of the car park, Darren Drysdale was in an X5 with the private plate on. I wanted to ram him. I was that annoyed. and I've not liked him ever since.
To be
Anyway,
fair, I
carry on
remember.
discussing Donny.
Yeah, in fairness, I remember his kind of overzealous passion for denying relatively clear fouls. Actually played in our favour in the I think it was the first leg against Trammer in the playoffs. I remember
Yes.
we were kind of roughing him up a bit, and he wasn't giving anything. He was being a bit stubborn on that, and that kind of worked in our favour. So swings and roundabouts, I guess. But overall, I think second half, Donny locked it down pretty well. Looked really threatening on the break. They probably could have maybe nicked a goal a bit early with one of the other breaks. It felt like they were really solid and organised at the back, and I think we probably just got a bit frustrated and couldn't break them down. And then I think JJ and Joe both coming on, causing a bit of a ruckus. That created a little bit more. Obviously, in fairness, their key. I think it might have been. I can't remember what the score it was. It was still 2-0 at the time, and yeah, and Joe Adams has forced a fantastic save from their keeper. He's a great keeper. He made it.
Yeah.
There was what I think there was one he made against Wrexham last week as well that went round. He's a fantastic keeper, and you can see why they've got such a solid foundation for the recent form. So fair play to them. You can't really argue against the result. I think even with the penalty, there was still a good chance that A, we miss it, or B, they go on to win anyway. So, but yeah, it's one of those. It is what it is. It was a shame to lose after a couple of good bank holiday weekends, but we've seen Donny. They're a bit of a machine at the moment. They've won again on Saturday.
Top of the form table.
Yeah, 7 on the bounce now, and I was having a chat before the Crew game when it looked like we might still maybe have a little bit of an outside chance to play us at, whether Donny or not were a threat or not. And we said, well, they'd have to go on to win 11 games in a row. We thought, surely not, but who knows, they might.
Yeah.
You never know, do you? But JJ, difficult game to come on and try and rescue something against Doncaster, wasn't it? Given that you're just coming back from injury and you're thinking, I could just do we coming on when we're 3-0 up and just poodle about a bit and set a few. It wasn't an easy game to come on.
Nah, it wasn't an easy game. Obviously, it's always harder when you're 2-0 down. And like I said, Doncaster being top of the form table, I think their league position doesn't suggest how good they are, especially at this point in time. So Donny, you see it, they're one of the top teams to have come here, I think, this year that we've played against. And they have such a solid foundation in that team. But to come on in that game, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting on the ball, trying to just be sharp, because obviously when you spend so much time out, it could struggle to get into the swing of things. But I feel good. I feel ready to play in that. So yeah, it was a tough game to come on to, but it is what it is.
So moving on, Tuesday night was a bit of a make or break, and obviously we're in a situation, Joel, where we were supposed to play Crew, and then we got a cup draw, and then we were supposed to play Crew, and it rained. So third time lucky or third time unlucky, as it turned out, because it was a bit of a nothing evening, very very windy, and I thought both sides, they looked neat and tidy. We looked neat and tidy. We looked pretty good with the wind first half and created some half chances. I can't remember Archie Mayer having anything to do other than try and stop the rebound for the goal. I can't remember Archie having. And their keeper, everybody said, Crew were poor. And I agree. I don't think they were great. And I didn't think we were great. I thought it was a poor game, but I thought we all agreed before we started recording. It was one of them where it was going to go down to one goal who made the mistake first, and unfortunately it was us, Joel.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. Obviously, people were quite frustrated to see the kind of playoffs slip out the picture after that game, and I get that. But the game itself, it was. I remember it came to the end of the first half, and I thought we'd actually played pretty well. Crew looked just not up for it. Well, I initially kind of thought not up for it at all. Then second half, we switch ends. Obviously, they've got the wind, and they look pretty comfortable. And I thought they looked pretty good in the second half, and I thought we were a bit poor in the second half. So I think it was that kind of right amount of wind where it wasn't taking all the balls you hit over the top. It wasn't taking them out of play. What it was doing, it going the other way. It was just meaning that you were going to clear the ball. it's League Two football. Sometimes a good way to, if you're under a bit of pressure and you want to break that pressure, sometimes what you want to do is you want to hit those channel balls. You want to just force get the defender running back, and then that make him clear out for a throw in, gain that bit of territory, and go from there. But that wasn't really able to happen for us in the second half, and it wasn't able to happen for Crewe in the first half, and they struggled with it in the first half. And I thought we got them down the sides, down to the byline quite a lot. We just didn't quite make the cutback stick, unfortunately. And then we've had a couple of decent efforts. Slew's nipped around the back post, flashed it across goal. Not quite, very, very close to being an own goal, actually, looking back on the replay. Slew's had another one where we got the ball in midfield, knocked it forward, and he's had a shot not too far up, not too far high and wide, just outside the area. So, we created some openings and nothing major. And then the second half, I thought it was just similar, but in Crewe's favour, really. They created a few openings, nothing major. And then obviously their number four's picked up the ball. It's just, he's run it. I think we've not really kind of anticipated the way he was going to carry the ball forward. And he's got into an area maybe a bit easier than we would have liked to, and then hit the shot, nicked off Jacob Badeau's shins, gone across goal, and fallen. And their guys done well to react to it. And I think that was the only proper chance in the whole game.
Yeah,
and it did kind of come from nothing and just a bit of a random run out of nowhere and a deflection. So yeah, look, it was disappointing, and it wasn't a great second half, but it follows Crewe having a pretty poor first half against the Wind. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's a shame to see the hopes of the playoffs at that point just kind of fizzle out a little bit. But yeah, you've got to look at the big picture. We've had a squad that has been decimated by injuries, managerial departure, 5 loanees leaving. Adam Mayer
in the same year.
Adam Mayer Adam Mayer obviously moving on as well. So I think big picture, we've done quite well to be in touch. It's a bit, and I think over the last maybe month or two, we've seen, well, month and a half maybe, we've seen a bit of inconsistency creeping in and a couple of flatter performances, but we've got quite a thin squad, and towards that business end of the season, it's just fallen away maybe just a little bit. But I think overall we've got to look at it and say we've done pretty well to keep in touch with things as long as we have, to be honest.
The upside was JJ came on again.
Yeah, that was a tougher game to come on into.
Yeah,
I was just saying, I agree with everything Joel said there. It was a game of two halves. I said it in the first half. I said this is going to be 0-0. It's got 0-0 written all over it, or a scrappy 1-0 goal. Because it's obvious for everyone to see. It was just a game of two halves.
But it was one of those where, as you said, whichever side got in front, it would be more luck than judgment, really, and that's exactly how it played out.
Yeah, you could see
I'm not bemoaning our luck. It's just like sometimes it falls for you, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
but I know you came on and it was difficult, and we brought Adam Fairclough on, etc., and we were chasing the game, but it just never really happened, did it? We just couldn't. We struggled to actually string anything together as they had in the first half.
Yeah, you can see it. Like when I come on, like the thing is, when the wind is that bad, like Joel said, to relieve pressure, sometimes you hit it behind them, you stretch them, but they knew nothing was going to go in behind them, so they pushed all their players up to halfway line and made the game in our half. And we struggled to break them down a bit more. We had a couple of sort of crosses towards the end of the game, but as the half as a whole, and the same for the first half the other way, both teams pushed made the game in one half, and it makes it harder when the pitch is that like dense. So I saw it before half time. I said this got 0-0 or scrappy 1-0 all over it. But it's just the way it works sometimes. Yeah,
and looking at it in the cold light of day now, it was a disappointing, a pretty decent crowd actually as well, of sort of like 3,600. Crewe bought a few for your Tuesday night. Great. The atmosphere was a little bit flat because of the sort of like football on offer and the wind. And looking at it in the cold light of day now, like I've said, we're now dealing with the EFL fine of the 3 points for as Farron Ralston said today in his Radio Lakers interview, that's landed on the doorstep of one person and one person only. which I think he was well within his rights to say that, and
Yeah.
also it's probably very, very true. But looking at it now, if we'd have beaten Crewe and we were still clinging on to we've got 3 games left and we're just on the edge of the playoffs, all we need to do is, and it's, I mean, you know, it's a big if. We've got Stockport on Saturday and then we've got Forest Green at home and away at Swindon. But so there are big ifs. But imagine the disappointment if we'd have beaten Crewe or beaten Doncaster, and then we'd have had those 3 points taken off us. So in a way, the fact that we're sat here talking about the fact that, well, probably, you know, the hopes have gone, but it's not been a bad season given the fact that 2 managers, 2 squads, you know, off the field shenanigans, etc., etc. We would be sitting here looking at Jason saying, well, he's really cocked it up for us because, you know, having a 3-point deduction at this stage of the season is a bit of a killer, Joel.
No, yeah, definitely. I think, look, it's funny how it's transpired. It was interesting to hear Jed speak about it, actually. I listened to his interview earlier today, and in terms of material effect and whether it will affect a playoff push, it's also probably worth saying it's good that it's not coming at the start of next season as well. So it's not going to affect anything too materially like that. But at the end of the day, I think he was referencing the fact that all the players were a bit gutted, and you know, it's a you know, you don't end up being a professional footballer without quite a strong competitive spirit, I imagine. So, you know, it's 3 points that they've worked for, and you know, it's been taken away, and they want to get finished as high as possible. I think Jeb was mentioning the fact that it's, you know, I think 63 was one of our highest totals we've ever got in League Two without finishing the playoffs. So, you know, we're getting up there for one of our highest ever points tallies in League Two. So, you know, footballers are competitive and they want to achieve, and Jed and the backroom staff and everybody are all the same. So yeah, I'm glad it's kind of happened at a time where we're in this little middle ground between it not really affecting the playoff push, but also not affecting next season. At the same time, you know, it's still frustrating. Just, you know, it's taking us out of the top half, and obviously there's a chance we can get back in there. But you know, these are things that are still going to be pretty good achievements for the team after the season we've had. So yeah, just very frustrating, and it's a shame to see a little bit of shine off what has overall been a pretty damn good season from the players.
And what was the atmosphere like in the dressing room when that news came through? Because obviously you had the open day today, JJ, and you had all the kids and families there today, and signing autographs and doing stuff like that. And then we get confirmed that we've been docked 3 points. It's like, well, that's put a blooming bit of a down on it, surely.
Yeah. I mean, the lads were gutted. Obviously, it's not nice to hear, especially like when you work hard all season and something out of your control is happening like that. It just it's a downer. But like you said, like at least it's not the start of next season, and at least it's at a time where it's looking out of our grasp. You know what I mean? If, like I said, if we'd have beat Crewe, we'd beat a team further down the road, and we were in the playoffs and we've been docked out of the playoffs, we'd be gutted. Do you know what I mean? And the lads still are gutted, but it's like it could be a lot worse. And it's better to happen now in the situation we're in than start next season for sure. Because going into a season with minus points, just you're starting in a dog hole. Yeah. So at least it's not the start of next season, and it's annoying because we can't control it. We can only do what we do on the pitch, and it's just the way it is.
And it is, and I'm happy to say it. For me, it's a complete and utter nonsense.
Yeah,
it is a nonsense for the simple fact that we were warned. You need to guarantee this money's there so you can pay the wages, and it was put in there, and then to remove them, knowing what's going to happen, then that's just beyond idiocy, and I don't mind saying it. It's beyond idiocy. And as you said, it is the hard work of everybody in the squad, but also everybody off the field connected with the club who works hard to make it all work, crowds in, etc., etc., etc. It is a complete and utter nonsense. I don't blame the EFL. Those are the rules. it's easy to point fingers and say, blah, blah, blah. But the book does stop with one person, and we all know who it is. And it's just incredibly disappointing, Joel.
Yeah, I think I think Faz actually put quite a few things quite well. But I think one of the things he said is, if he's not got the funds to be able to fulfill what the EFL required of him, obviously the 125% deposit and all that, then fair enough. I can't really fault anybody for not having enough money to sustain a football club, because I certainly don't have enough money. But at the end of the day, what you can fault him for is the fact that he clearly doesn't have the means to be able to stay in the club in the way that it should be done and fulfill these EFL requirements. And if he doesn't, then the move needs to happen, and the move needs to happen, and it hasn't happened yet, and it should have happened. It should have happened by now, and it's very frustrating. I mean, the only good thing I can think might come of this is it's one of the levers that the EFL have to try and hurry a move on, and I mean, will it work? I don't know. I can't really say that. I have any idea if it'll work, but it's a lever that they can use to try and hopefully get the sale of the club moving along, and fingers crossed that there's a bit more movement on that in the next few weeks. Now, Jason's got that fine hanging over his head, and now that there's been the points implication, hopefully that is the sale is something that gets moving very, very soon.
And it's an interesting, as we approach 3 games left of the season, obviously Jed's very, very keen, first of all, to sort of finalise who, what, where, why, when, and his targets for next season. And I find that that's probably been somewhat scuppered by the fact that we've been, we've had 3 points deducted, and there's a fine hanging over us, with another fine hanging over the owner.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, from a player's point of view, in the dressing room, it's a difficult question, JJ, but I'm going to ask it. You must discuss it and say, well, I've got to look at my options here and say, I might be offered a contract. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I? It's you've got your livelihood to look after, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, as a player, it's a difficult one. I think I wouldn't say we necessarily discuss things like that, but yeah, it's a tough one for a player, because, like I said, it's a livelihood, but we just want to do the business for the club. We want to try and do the business for the fans, because obviously fans, I think Paz said it in his interview earlier, you pay your hard-earned money to come and watch the team, and some blokes causing points to be deducted or whatnot. I mean, like, as a younger player, we leave that to the older lads and the staff and that. So we don't really talk about it as much as maybe the older lads would, or know as much about it. But yes, it's a tough one as a player, but we just want to do the business on the pitch. Staff are the same, want to do the business on the pitch. And then
So you're telling me you're too busy on Instagram and TikTok, and you let the oldies get on with it?
Yeah, let the old players deal with situations like that, skippers and that. But I wouldn't say I'm on the social media stuff, but we just have our own little bubble. Yeah.
Well, that's good that we've lightened it up a bit anyway. So we'll before we come to you, we'll discuss the little matter of Stockport just announcing that it's going to be all ticket on Saturday, because there's people queuing out the doors to get in. I wonder why that would be, Joel. Is there something important going on?
I know it's bringing back fond memories of I think it was the 14-15 season. It was actually the last season I had watching Morecambe before I kind of went away to uni and stuff. So it was the last time I had a season ticket for a while. But I remember the last few games of that season, I think over the course of a few weeks, we played Bury, who was it? Bury, Wickham, and Southend. And we managed to actually knock all of them out of the automatics. And actually, we did it at the Southend last day of the season. We stopped them getting automatic promotion. I mean, obviously they went on to win the playoffs and penalties, but it was quite fun. I think pooping about 3 parties. Well, even if it was only temporarily over those last few weeks of the season.
Southend brought about 2,500. I think we beat them 4-2. Aaron Wilde.
I think it was 3-1, but I remember Jack Redshaw, Jack Redshaw was about 5'6", kind of knee sliding in front of the that because they gave a little bit of the Berlin Wall end to Southend fans, and I remember Jack Redshaw scoring against them, knee sliding in front of them, and then one or two of the Southend fans ducking under the barrier because it was before it had. I think there were gaps under the fence. I didn't think it had advertising boards at that point. They ducked under the barrier. Did the kind of the classic thing of like, hold me back. Like they kind of like
nobody was
like trying to get their mates to hold me back and do like that kind of nonsense. But yeah, moving away from that and looking at the present day, yeah, look, Stockport, they're a fantastic side. We probably didn't see the best of them when we played them at our place. I think the wind and the rain and all that.
Oh, terrible!
Yeah, quite.
That wasn't even a game of football. I'll say it now. That wasn't a game of football.
How the hell did that end up with two teams scoring?
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know how, honestly, playing in that, I don't know how that even got to the end of the game because there were, especially second half, there were points that you'd be running with the ball and the ball would hold in there'd be a puddle and you'd all just be slide tackling each other in the puddle. I mean, it was definitely by far the worst conditions I've ever played in. I've never had it that bad. It was so bad. Like, it's the only game I've played and I've been cold from the first minute to the last minute. I've run all that running around and I was still freezing.
To be fair, I think it's a big credit to both teams that they actually scored a goal.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, funny game that.
Yeah, but obviously, they could seal automatic promotion and that's actually nice that somebody actually wants to get promoted now because most of the teams at the top, Wrexham and Mansfield and Stockport, have been swapping the lead probably since about October. And every time one of them goes top, they lose and somebody else takes over. And it's like, for crying out loud, come on, lads, sort yourself out. So it's about time somebody did it, isn't it? But Stockport, it still does look like Stockport, Mansfield and Wrexham will go up. But obviously there's still places up for grabs in the playoffs. And I still think probably, the best side I've probably seen, two best sides, Mansfield and MK Dons, strangely. And that's my tip for the playoffs is MK Dons. But I mean, what about you, Joel?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, just from what we've seen this season, MK Dons are pretty comfortably the best side in the playoffs. I think I thought Crawley did really well against us when they played us at our place. I thought they were a bit lucky to lose the game. And I thought they were good. Crew been all right. Barrow haven't done a lot for me, but yeah, MK Dons I thought really good. And I think we've spoken to players before on the podcast, and I think the general consensus in the players, I don't know what JJ will say obviously, but the MK Dons are probably the pick of that bunch there because they're a very good side, aren't they?
Yeah, MK Dons are I would say they're probably by far the best team in that playoffs. If you're talking Crawley 7th spot, Crew, Barrow and MK Dons, I think MK Dons are the best of the four. I did see a stat somewhere that if the league had started from the day the MK Dons manager came in, they'd be top of the league. I don't know if that's still the case, but I did see that somewhere. So and I know he is a good manager. And he's really transformed MK Dons because I don't think they were up there at the start of the season, were they? I don't remember. Yeah, I thought they were quite low down, but yeah,
he was the lad from Gateshead, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he transformed them as well. See, when I was at Eastleigh last year, Gateshead were at the bottom, and we played them early in the year, and they were shocking. And then we played them later on in the year, right at the end of the season, and he managed to bring them up near the playoffs, and they absolutely battered us at our place. I mean, they were like two completely different sides, but yeah, I'd say MK Dons have the better squad, and they're the ones that should win it. But playoffs is a completely different atmosphere about a game. And the way MK Dons with their possession, if the atmosphere can get to them, teams like Crawley, who are more likely to sit back and counter, I guess, in games like that, could nick wins because that's all playoffs is about. So it's a completely different game to a 46-game yearly league. Completely different.
Yeah, so presumably you're looking forward to Saturday with like, come on, Gaffer, start me because it's going to be full house at Edgeley Park. The pressure's on them. There's no pressure on us whatsoever. And all of a sudden, that's quite a nice position to be in for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess like shackles are off. I guess we haven't really got. We still can get playoffs, but it's like obviously unlikely now. I think Crawley only need a point, and they're we can't get it. So, but yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be a nice stadium, massive team, massive club for the level, and it'll be a great game to play in. Be a great game to play in.
So yeah, we're taking a few fans down because obviously
Yeah.
we've got interestingly, to see how far we've come. My first trip to Stockport was in 1978 in the first round of the FA Cup. Yes,
Wow.
don't tell me you weren't born. I know you weren't. Neither of you were born. I know. We lost 5-1 in the first round, and a bloke called Frank Towers scored our goal. Who was like a 6'2" centre forward with long blonde hair, and
Wow.
our coach got stoned on the way home. That's 1978. So things have changed because we're playing them on parity now. They've had some bad times.
Yeah.
We've gone from, at the time they were Division 4 and we were Northern Premier League. Okay. So we've to be in the same league as them when I was 15 when I went there. So to go back as parity and play them at Edgeley Park, it's good for me because and to be honest, if we got beat 5-1, it wouldn't surprise me, Joel.
Yeah, it might happen, but a little bit. I mean, they've basically sealed it, haven't they? I think they're like 9 points clear, and MK have 3 to play, so they have basically sealed it. But look, they're going to do it.
They want to be champions.
You want to do it mathematically, and like you say, they want to be champions, so they'll be well up for it. But it's funny how these things work because I know generally, obviously, people talk about teams being on the beach, and obviously, we've seen our fair share of teams looking a bit like they're on the beach, but equally, like I've seen plenty of teams that turn up, get to the last few games of the season when things are off the table and just fancy spoiling a few parties, and I think
us?
Why not?
Well, yeah, that's what we've been saying. It'd be nice to go down there and spoil the party for sure. So we're bang up for it. Don't think because we got essentially nothing to play for, we won't be bang up for it. That's always nice to go and spoil party. Always.
Party poopers. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. So now, we come to you now, JJ. Obviously, you got injured against, it was Harrogate Town, wasn't it?
Yeah, Harrogate, New Year's Day.
Yeah. So talk us through that. Obviously, we ended up 2-2 on that game, but we didn't expect to lose you for quite so long.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I first did it, I didn't expect me to be out for that long. I didn't feel anything crack or pop, or I thought it was just a roll and a sprain. But when I went and got my my scan done, it was a bit worse than that. Obviously, 3 months out. But what essentially happened was Joel played me line. I thought I had 2 men showing me line, but kind of boxing me in. So I've kind of threw my body line and shot it back. So I've sent both of them, and the second guy was sort of behind me. Gone to swipe for the ball, and he hasn't meant to do it, but he's gone to swipe for the ball, missed. And as my leg was planted my back leg was planted in the floor, he's just caught my ankle, and it's just that extra roll's just done what basically happened. I've done my snapped my AFTL. Got a grade 3 tear in there. Fractured the bone where it connects to the joint on the foot. So basically, there where the leg connects to the foot. And I basically sprained all the inner ankle. I'd done so much stuff in there. I couldn't believe it when I got my scan. I was furious.
So did you didn't realise, you just thought you'd sprained it? It didn't feel like it was painful or anything?
No, I didn't feel it until the whistle was till the ref blew his whistle. Sorry. Because if you go and watch it back, he does the tackle. I get straight back up. I pass the slew inside, and I go to make a run down the line, and he blows his whistle, and as I take my first couple of steps, I'm like, oh, nah, that don't feel right. And I went down, and then the physios has come on. I got back up, and I felt it balloon up, real swell up, and I thought, I've done something here. But I didn't think it would be that long because I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel a crack or a tear or a pop. It just ballooned up. So I thought, I've done something, but hopefully I'll be back in a couple of weeks, maybe a month. I genuinely genuinely believe that. And when I got my scan and it was a grade 3 tear, bone fracture somehow. I don't know how I fractured my bone. Yeah, I was devastated. I was devastated.
And looking at it then, obviously, not nice for any professional sportsman to get an injury that's going to keep you out for basically a third of the season.
Yeah,
you've got to be in a situation there where, and I you know, I have a lot of sympathy with you. You're miles away from where your family is.
yeah.
You had Blocko staying with you, and he disappeared off back to Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
And you're in a situation here where you're like, you must have been staring at the walls thinking, dear Lord, my life's turned upside down.
It was a great start to the new year, wasn't it? If you don't laugh about these things, you got to laugh, otherwise you cry. Do you know what I mean? But it was a weird one because the physios were great with me, and the gaffer was great with me. They basically, because of what I did, I couldn't come in and do anything, so they let me go home for. I think I was home for 2 or 3 weeks. The first initial 2 or 3 weeks, which is literally just rest and ice. So that was good to go back and see my family. But within that period, you had all the lone lads leave who were all, and Adam Mayer sort of left towards the end, who were my sort of group. So I went from having my group, my table at lunch and that to like I had to mix with everyone else almost. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was weird. It was a weird team to come back to because obviously we had loads of new players that I hadn't met who had already been there for 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, it was a weird period. I'll come back to a completely different setup with the lads, but they're all top lads, every single one of them. So they make it easier for me almost.
And looking at it, it's a long slog doing the sort of hard yards because obviously you've got to be weight bearing and you've got to be careful and do all the sort of like the weights and the stretches and stuff like that. And then it takes a while before you actually sort of kick a ball again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it took me. I want to say about 2 months. I would say about 8 to 10 weeks. I reckon I was sort of kicking a ball and about 10 weeks. I was slowly running and kicking a ball, I'd say. It was a long period. I mean, going home was probably the best thing that could have happened to me because my mum treated me like I was a king, like some sofa food handed to me, the best foods and that, and she was lovely. But
And Netflix.
yeah, literally, it got to a point where I was so bored. I wanted to like, it was so boring. But I'm glad I could have done it at home rather than at my apartment up here because I would have had no one to like shop for me or etc. So I was home for quite a while. Which on one hand's good, but the other hand you're watching like the team play and that, and it's all right when they win, but it's when they lose and you feel like you could have been there to help and whatnot. It's gutting, but don't laugh, you cry. Do you know what I mean? You just gotta get through it. You'll be back with it before you know it, and I'm back now, thank God. So yeah, keep moving.
So was there any truth in the rumour that all of a sudden your mum's now subscribing to Apple TV and Disney Plus, and somebody set this up and no idea who it was?
All of them. She's got all of them for me. She's a legend. Bless her.
Joel, I'll pass you on to Joel to ask some questions. He's always got some good ones.
Yeah,
maybe. But no, yeah. But I guess like looking obviously you're making your first appearances the other week. What is that quite nerve-wracking coming back for the first time after you've had a big injury and you're just thinking, I really don't want to do anything to flare this up or anything.
Yeah, I was saying more that I was more excited to get back. I mean, the receptions the fans gave me was amazing. I didn't expect that at all. Love, great fan base. But to get on the pitch was more nervous about it. It's more that first tackle sort of, and there was a situation in the Doncaster game where I kind of picked up the ball, turned a player, cut inside, and I've laid it off, and mate's come through the back of my ankle, and I thought, but like I think I needed that to happen to know my ankle's all right. Do you know what I mean? I needed it to happen, and my ankle's been fine. I've been training properly. I've been training really well. So the biggest thing for me is like to make sure I just look sharp when I play. because I've been out a long time. Do you know what I mean?
So, I mean, sharpness is always like a big thing with these things, and it gets talked about. And I
Yeah.
guess it's one of those that, like as somebody who's not a professional footballer, is it like stuff like how tight your first touch is, having that kind of little bit of anticipation? Is that what kind of people are meaning when they say sharpness?
When I say sharpness, yeah, it's like how tight your touch is. Are you when it comes in, touch bang, like just your perception on where everyone is and your vision, just everything's got to be sharp, quick, nice. Like when your passes are punched, no bubbles. Just how sharp you look, really. That's what I'd say sharpness is. But it's just make sure I just look sharp when I play, because it stands out. Do you know what I mean? So I'm very big on that. Even in training, like when I do the passing drills, I try to make sure all my passes are punched, crisp, no bubbles. I'm really big on them because if I do it in training, then the games become easy. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I try and make sure everything I do's correct. I don't try and slack at all.
And then, like you say, kind of perception of people around you. I think we've touched on it already. Obviously, you come back into the team, and basically everybody's different. And
Oh yeah,
obviously you've trained with them, but then I guess it's something else when you've got the kind of the adrenaline of a game going around you, isn't it?
yeah. I think games completely different to training, of course. No matter how hard you train, there's nothing like a game. It's just different. There's a different atmosphere about it, different pressures, etc. You get players who are unbelievable in training, and games they're different. I'm not on about like here. I'm on about like just in general. You get players who are amazing in training, and they can't do it in games, and vice versa. Get players who are horrible in training, like they just can't be bothered to be there, stuff like that, and get to the games and they're machines. Um, so yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah.
No, yeah, you get a feel. I think it's Aaron Collins, isn't it? Who's meant to be one of the ones that we've had in the past. He's been a terrible, terrible trainer,
Terrible
but
trainer,
obviously
yeah.
he's doing well in League One now. But yeah, he's apparently a terrible
I
trainer.
tell
But
you
then,
who Mellon was unbelievable when it comes to the game. Mellon was boy like amazing finisher and that, but in the like possession drills and that, he just he just stood on the outside, little 1-2s here and there. But when it comes to the games and the shooting drills, he's probably the best finisher I've played with. Easy. He was deadly in front of goal.
yeah,
But then it comes to training, proper possession drills and that, and he's just lackadaisy. But games where it counts, that's the thing. The pressure's on in games. But I think I enjoy playing in the pressure, and people like Mellon, Blocker, etc. Like, yeah.
yeah, I was going to say with actually Millen, but slacking off in passing drills, but he's slack off in the shooting drills because I feel like he probably comes alive for those as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think most strikers do though. I think you're there to score goals, and Mellon, like I said, Mellon scored some outrageous goals this year. Just that one for Gillingham sticks out for me. I think that's such an underrated finish. He was so close to the goalie. He literally had to chip it with a trajectory like that, and it had to dip in that back post. I mean, it was so when you go and watch it back, how close the goalie was to him. The only place it could have gone was right underneath that back stick, and
Yeah.
He was deadly finisher.
Yeah, to be fair, that came. I hadn't watched that goal in a while, but it came. I was watching the goal of the season compilation, and that came up, and I was like, oh, you do forget how good the finish
Yeah,
is. But
yeah, you do. I think it's one of them underrated ones. It looks easy because the goalie's out of his goal, but it's not. It's not.
no, and well, talking about that goal compilation, actually, I'm guessing it's probably got your favourite goal of the season, which is the halfway line run against Colchester.
Colchester, yeah.
Oh
Right.
yeah. That was all right. That was all right. There was
All right, all right. If I'd have scored that, I'd have retired.
yeah, I mean, it was for my third goal. I mean, it's a weird one actually because I think I was marking a man because we were down to 10 men and we're 2-0 up. I don't know what minute it was, but we're 2-0 up anyway in the second half. And my man floats into the box and I don't know who it is, but I spot someone's free in the box. And I'll just yell, mark him. And I kind of just float out to the left, thinking I'm getting the counter here because it's 3v2 or 3v3, whatever it was. And it kind of lands to Donald, and I spoke to Donald about this before, and he just said he just saw a red shirt and he just smashed it up there. And when I picked it up, I was right near the dugout by the gaffers, and the gaffer was just like, "Go, JJ, go!" And I thought, "No, what? I just got to go for this." And then yeah, when I scored it, it was just another goal, I guess.
Another goal. It's an easy one.
Yeah.
But I remember.
You've still got the ball.
What's that?
You've still got the ball, surely.
Yeah, it's down here somewhere.
Oh,
It's
there you
here,
go.
it's here somewhere.
Just another goal, he says, but he's got the ball.
Yeah, it's nice.
And just finally, I guess, you have you got a new housemate from the team?
Yeah. I'm rooming with Joe Adams now. Joe Adams, he's a top lad. He's from Guernsey, but he stays in Southampton quite a bit, which is obviously I'm from Southampton, but he stays in like Eastleigh, which is like just north of Southampton. So we have that little relationship. He knows people I know, so he's a top lad. So yeah, it's good.
Who's tidier, him or Blocko?
Who's what? Tidier?
Who's tidier? Yeah.
I don't know. Both bad each other. To be fair, I'm worse than both of them, so I can't come on here and say that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm not the most tidiest. I won't lie.
Well, yeah, I was going to say because when I said where's your ball, you went, oh, it's here somewhere. And,
Yeah, I would show you my room, but I'm not going to. So yeah.
Don't worry, I'm hiding a bit of mess behind me as well. So
My floor is just covered. I mean, that's not that bad to be fair, but yeah, it's not the I'm not the tidiest. I won't lie.
No, you see, I'm of a different age to you two because obviously I'm now retired and I've had 4 kids, and I'm like everything in its place now because I've had 4 kids go through the house with I can't. Well, I put that down. Where's it gone?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I borrowed it. Well, now I don't know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
When you have kids, it does you ready. You'll become tidier. I'm telling you.
My dad's the same. My dad tries fighting me every week about picking clothes up off the floor and that. Just so, yeah, he's the same.
It'll happen. So, we've got 3 games left. We've got Stockport away, so that's an easy 3 points given in front of 9,500 or 10,000 or whatever. Then we've got an easy home game against Forest Green because they'll be relegated by then. And then we've got a mid-table battle against Swindon, who've absolutely plummeted since they were second when we played them, when we were at home.
When we played them, they were automatics, I think. They were
they
were bankers. They were bankers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've dramatically dropped away. So I mean that's just 9 points out of 9 and we'll finish 10th, and that's good enough for me. What do you think, Joel?
Yeah, I'd be lovely to get 9 points out of 9. I mean, there's a fair chance that we could actually relegate Forest Green in that game. So yeah, I've got a couple of, I mean, obviously I don't mean a relish in relegating teams, obviously, but
no,
at least it gives it a bit of excitement, doesn't it? But yeah, and it'll be like you say, Swindon. I thought when they were at our place at the beginning of the season, I thought they were in really good form and they looked really, really good. And obviously they had Jay Young there, obviously on loan. He was doing really well and scoring a daft amount of
Kemp
goals.
on loan as well.
Yeah, Kemp was doing really well there as well. And obviously it's not ideal when you get your loan players recalled, is it? But
it's funny that, isn't it? It seems to come home to roost with somebody else that we shall like losing housemates. But
yeah. I think we've had a great season, to be fair. To finish, if we do finish 10th, whatever. To think where we were at the start of the season, like where everyone was putting us, like bankers, to get relegated or be down there anyway, and to be in and around the playoffs and go to MK, lose all our players, all our attack, literally every single one.
Yeah.
And go to MK Dons away and beat them. I mean, I think before I got injured, Mellon had 13 goals. I think I had 7. I think the next top goal scorer was Adam Mayer with 3. And then so we lost basically all of our goals. So to bring young loan players in and go to teams like MK Dons and beat them away, I think is a testament to the boys, to be honest. I think what we've battled with this season, I think even fans could look at it and go like, Morecambe will never be a club that sits down and throws the towel in. Like they'll get hungry players every year, and we'll it must be good to see.
So from your point of view, you've won behind Slewy. Are you going to beat him before end of season?
I've got to. I've got to try anyway. But saying that, like Slew's really, like I said it to him, I feel like he really stepped up this season, especially the second half of the season where he scored a 1-0 against Crawley, and even that one to nick a point against Harrogate. There's probably scored other goals, but my brain ain't working. But he's scored the amount of goals and have big moments, and consistently play and be effective. I think, he's been brilliant. So if he beats me, I can live with that. I can live with that. But it would be nice to finish top. But if he beats me, like, he deserves it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's called hedging your bets. That.
Yeah. To be fair, Blues assisted me with quite a few goals. Few of my goals. I think he's assisted 3 of my goals. So, we have that good link up. I need to give him the favour back now. So hopefully, one of the last 3 games that can happen.
Well, that's very magnanimous of you. But you being a 10 and him being a winger, I think you should be thinking, well, if he sets me up, I'm going to put it away, and then if I get a chance to put him through, I'll have a shot.
Oh, I will. Don't worry about that. No, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It all depends on the picture of the game. That's the thing. A game, you could think of what a game's going to be like before, but the picture constantly changes, especially when you're in the middle of the park. Can't bank on your opposition player being somewhere because the pitch is constantly changing. So it's one of them things on the day. If it's on for the shot, I'm going to take it. So we'll see. We'll see.
So, final question from me: how's obviously your first experience of proper League Two football? Is it as good as you thought? Is it worse than you thought? Is it more hectic than you thought? Is it more physical than you thought?
I don't know. I don't want to. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's I didn't really know what to expect, to be fair. Obviously I played National League last year. I would say National League is harder to play in, which is going to sound weird, but I think the quality is better in League Two. But I think that suits my game.
Yes.
Because teams try and get it down and try and play. But if I'm being honest, that's why every week you see teams concede horrible goals trying to play out from the back. And but like as the league as a whole, it's been a great season, and it's a good league. Like, you have some top teams like Mansfield, Stockport, obviously Wrexham coming up from National League. They've been good in a different sort of way. I mean, Mansfield play some lovely football. I just remember when we played them at their place, they were really good that day.
They destroyed us. They destroyed us.
Yeah. If we're being honest, that was a lesson. But
that was a harsh lesson, a very harsh lesson. Very early on in the season.
Yeah, there's some great quality, but honestly, I don't think there's much between the teams. I really don't. Like, I feel like us as a team, like I think we're better playing the better teams than we are playing the ones down, like, because the ones down the bottom they make it hard for you. But yeah, I think the league as a whole, I think, is a very similar quality. Obviously, you have the top teams who are really good, but I think in this league, anyone could beat anyone on their day. You saw it where did we lose 4 in a row and we were still 3 points outside of playoffs for a game of that?
Yeah,
that was mental. How can you go 4 games without a win or a draw and still be in the same position? I mean, that just says what the league is. It's very exciting. I think it must be exciting for the fans, and it's exciting for the players. So
stressful.
What?
Yeah.
So what? Before we finish, I'm going to ask you this: what are your thoughts on next season? Are we looking to push on with us, or are you sort of like thinking, oh well, I'll set my sights on something higher, or what?
No, I mean, football constantly changes. I'm not sure at the moment. I just want to play the games. I've loved every minute of being here. I love it here. So it's been really good, but I haven't really thought about it yet. So it's the type of thing, you get to the end of the season, you have your holiday, and then you see what you add everything up. But it's been an amazing year. So yeah.
Well, I hope we do see you again, because as you said yourself, when you were running up and down the line as your first sub appearance against Doncaster, you got greeted with an unexpected massive cheer and your name being being
Yeah.
shouted out, and I could see at the time when you were doing it, it meant a lot to you. And it was great to see you back. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. We really appreciate you coming on here today
Thank
to
you.
talk about this. Difficult time, because obviously we had to talk about the
Yeah.
3 points, but
Yeah.
you know, it's not been ideal. But
Yeah.
good luck for the rest of the 3 games. I hope you do at least equal Sluey.
Yeah.
And then you can
hopefully, I think I will. I think I will. If I get enough minutes, I guess. I think I'll get myself in the positions, hopefully. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, Sluey was on here about 3 weeks ago, and I said if he managed to even equal Michael Mellon, I'd buy him a pint, and then so did Joel. So he's into us for a pint each. So
yeah.
I'm
What's
winning you on, JJ.
Yeah. What's Mike on 13?
Yeah.
Or 5 goals in 3 games. It's been done before.
It has. And you're a hat trick man now, so you can do it.
Yeah, but it can be done, I guess. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Anything from the trust, Joel?
Yeah, just a couple of little bits. Obviously, with the whole 3 points being deducted thing, you know, it's something that is massively concerning. Obviously, we've covered it a bit on this podcast already. We've got a meeting coming up in the next week with the club and the board, so we'll be able to ask him a few questions. I think we've put out a call for people to send in questions. So if you've seen that on social media, please do feel free to email us and just let us know if there's anything that you want to raise that we might not have thought of to ask ourselves. Obviously, you know, that's an important part of trying to keep up communication with the club. So please do feel free to get in touch if you do have something that you'd like us to try and ask the club, and we'll try and update it as best as possible from there. And then finally, just also a couple of brighter things. Big thanks to TLC for washing the big flag because it did need a bit of a wash, and they've done that for us. So big thanks to them, and I'm sure everybody who will next be carrying the flag in their home end will probably be thankful for them as well. It was getting a bit dirty by that point, and also smelly, yeah. So, and also there's a race night on the 8th of June. We're currently still looking for sponsors for that. So it would be £50 for the night to sponsor, and it's £25 per race. Great stuff. Keep sending your questions in. We'll do our best to try and run them by the club and see what we can get from there.
Right. This has been ShrimpNet. Thanks to Joel as usual, and thanks to our guest, the returning number 10, the hat trick man himself. It's JJ McKiernan. Great to see you back. Have a good rest of the season. Hopefully have a great rest over the summer, and hopefully come August we'll have you back on talking about all these fantastic new signings who are going to get us and you promoted. Have a good summer.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
See you later.